Welcome to SVG-TV News on Monday, February 15th, 2016. I'm Lauren Fraser with the details. The three teachers who unsuccessfully contested the December 13th, 2010 general elections on the New Democratic Party's ticket and were seeking reinstatement have been dealt a major blow as their claim against the Public Services Commission and the Attorney General was struck out by High Court Judge Justice Brian Cottle. The claimants are Elvis Daniel, Addison Thomas, Kenroy Johnson, and Oswald Robinson as president of the SVG Teachers Union. In the claim number 31 of 2013, the claimants put forward the arguments that Public Service Commissioner acted in bad faith in refusing to grant the leave requested for them to contest the general elections, thereby forcing them to resign their teaching positions in order to take advantage of the collective agreement signed with the government. They also claimed that the Public Service Commission failed to honor the collective agreement in which, according to its terms, they will be restored to their teaching posts or some other post of equivalent status in accordance of the Article 16 of the agreement. In his ruling, Justice Cottle stated that when he considered all of the competing arguments as well as his understanding of the governing legal principles, he is driven to the conclusion that the claimants cannot succeed. He said, though it may well be that the present constitutional provisions are too restrictive and some provisions along the lines of those set out in the Article 16 of the Collectives Agreement is desirable, that is a matter for constitutional reform and not for the court, deeming the claim by the teachers and the SVGTU as entirely hopeless. The judge pointed out that a clear reading of Section 26, Part 1D of the Constitution means that a person is simply not qualified to be a candidate while he continues to hold public office, in this case as a teacher, noting that the laudable aims of the article cannot trump the clear constitutional provisions. He notes that the claimants' three teachers were left with a stark choice, which was that they resign or they could remain as teachers, and if they chose to remain a teacher, they could not offer themselves as candidates. Lawyer Richard Williams, who represented for the defendants the Public Service Commission and the Attorney General, told SVG-TV News that he personally expected the favorable outcome. Williams said that the difficulty the claimants had was that the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is very specific as it pertains to a person in public office not being qualified to stand as a candidate for a general election. Williams further stated that this provision of the Constitution is entrenched and will take a two-third majority of all the representatives of the House to overrule it. He notes that what is inside of the Constitution just cannot be annulled through an agreement between the government and the teachers' union. And leader of the New Democratic Party, Arnim Eustace, described the court ruling as deeply disappointing. Eustace says while he is yet to be informed about the elements of the case, he will expound and make his party's views known soon.
I believe by now most people would have heard on radio that the three teachers lost their case. And I'm deeply disappointed in that result. We don't have all the details, we don't have the documents before us as yet, but I can confirm, having spoken, that they did in fact lose the case, and many of you would have heard it on this radio station earlier today. But you'll hear more on that from us in the next few hours.
What is right is whatever is done in accordance with the principles and rules which rightfully govern the people. That's according to attorney at law Bayless Fredericks at a media conference held earlier today as he addressed the current situation in Canouan, where locals are seeking road access to the Lance Guyac beach due to a no anchoring and swimming zone being established in the area. Citing laws according to the Constitution and the Three Chains Act, Section 4, 1 and 2, Fredericks noted that the current rules used to govern the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines seem to be partial and a major cause of conflict.
You enjoy a right for 40 years. It is absolute. Now the Constitution could break that. No. Wherever Vincentians walked to go to the sea for 40 years, it is a right of way that is indefensible. You can't defeat that at all. 198 feet from high water mark up into the land, the public has free right there by law. There is no exception in the Constitution to say certain people, certain things could be done outside of that law. The supreme law of the land.
Noting that the people of Kanawha are being deprived of their rights and freedom, Frederick says it is his duty as a lawyer to point out such irregularities. He further outlined his disappointment in the legal fraternity, which he says has failed to make the residents aware of their rights.
It annoys me in several ways. One chief of which is this, that why do the lawyers shut their mouth? Oh God, it's wrong. They owe, because they have been sanctions that get life here in St. Vincent, they owe St. Vincent to give of themselves. And those are the laws that are on the books, those are the laws of the land. And you don't tell people what their rights are.
The director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carissa Etienne, is leading a delegation of her first official visit to this country. The director and her team were today involved in a series of activities, including a visit to a number of projects supported by PAHO. At a media conference at the Georgetown Smart Hospital, which is also supported by PAHO Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Louis Deschamps, welcomed Dr. Etienne to the state and says his ministry is grateful for her visit. Deschamps added that PAHO has made tremendous contributions to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and is looking forward to the organization's continued support.
We are indeed truly happy, and we look forward to this continued relationship with PAHO. PAHO has been for many years our principal international partner. PAHO has been giving to this country a lot of technical assistance for our health systems development, and we are where we are with our healthcare and the delivery of healthcare because of the enormous amount of support that we are getting from the Pan American Health Organization. And we want to use this opportunity to say thank you very much to you, to Dr. Shreb, and to the entire team for the enormous support that you continue to give to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The PAHO director says she is grateful for the opportunity to visit St. Vincent and the Grenadines and pointed out that the medical facility in Georgetown is one of PAHO's pilot projects as PAHO moves to develop a smart hospital program. Dr. Etienne added that she is delighted at the progress of work at the facility in Georgetown.
We have worked with Vincentians and the Ministry of Health on this facility to make it green and to make it safe. And this is a program, because of the success in the implementation of the pilot, this is a program that has been extended. We spent some $400,000 here with the DFID funds, and I must say that I'm certainly delighted at what has happened here. Even more so, I'm told that already that you are saving some 27% of your electricity needs, and besides that, we've made it safer for emergencies and disasters. And this is what the collaboration of PAHO with international assistance and the commitment of the member state and the Ministry of Health, this is what we can accomplish together.
Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Senator Luke Brown, said his ministry is grateful for the visit and will seek to use the opportunity to learn from Dr. Etienne's experience in primary health care. Brown added that the ministry is looking forward to the conversion of other health facilities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to smart health centers.
Etienne did allude to the fact that we have a wonderful facility right here, and from just looking around, it would seem as if even the environment itself is therapeutic, and therefore it must lend itself to very good attention being given to all the patients who are here. And as was already highlighted, this project was made possible through PAHO. PAHO went beyond the call of duty in this respect, in that where they would ordinarily merely provide technical cooperation, they helped to source the financing for this project, and we are very grateful for that. We are also very grateful for the fact that we are going to move from this project on to other projects. We're going to convert some other healthcare facilities into smart hospitals and smart facilities generally. So that is something that we look forward to with great anticipation.
Tomorrow there will be the hosting of the annual sub-regional managers meeting at the National Insurance Conference Room, which seeks to position PAHO's technical cooperation in the best way possible to serve the region. Regional and Councillor for Cooperation of the French Republic, Ambassador Stéphane Duver, made a 2-day official visit here from February 10th to the 12th. According to a media release from the Agency for Public Information, the visit was to discuss the strengthening of partnership between this country and France in areas of mutual interest such as education, health and culture. While in state, Ambassador Duver made courtesy calls on Prime Minister Dr. Alf Gonsalves, Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment Luke Brown, Laura Brown, Director of Planning, Laura Brown, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Godfrey Pompey, Chief Education Officer, Luann Gilchrist, and the National Trust. St. Vincent and the Grenadines and France have enjoyed excellent diplomatic relations since SVG's attainment of political independence in 1979. Customers of Vinmec continue to benefit from falling oil prices on the world market. The company says it recorded another record low fuel surcharge rate for this month in the amount of 18.48 cents per unit. The rate for this month, according to the company, represents a decline of 2.23 cents per unit, or 11% from the January figure, and that the fuel surcharge rate applicable on bills this month has fallen by 29% from February of last year. The company notes that over the 16 months, the fuel surcharge on its electricity bills has been on the decline, primarily because of the downward trend in fuel prices on the world market, and that these savings have been passed on to customers as reflected on electricity bills. The company, however, reiterates the need for customers to be energy efficient despite the fuel surcharge rate. Be reminded that the final bill amount depends on how much energy is utilized. In order to arrest the decline of the condition in capital city Kingston, the issue of vending must not be dealt with in isolation. That's according to tourism consultant Vera Ann Brayton, who says that Kingston used to be the cleanest city throughout the Caribbean, adding that the reason why Kingston is in the state that it is of late due to the fact that there is a neglect to ensure that the proper legislation is put in place and adhered to. Brayton was speaking on Sunday's Hits Talk program, where the topic discussed was the recent cleanup efforts as well as the part that vendors play in the pollution of Kingston. The tourism consultant further adds that vending is not largely the problem, and that except for pockets of upgrades by the private sector, the city has been allowed to deteriorate.
One of the things that I don't think vendors or vending is the problem. I've always said that. I think it's how the vending is done, what it has allowed to become is the problem. And first of all, I think we need to put in place proper alternatives for vending, economic alternatives. And we also need to put proper, I believe they may already exist, regulations and laws in place, but they're not enforced, and I think Blazer touched on that. And this is one of the big problems why Kingston has deteriorated to the point that it has now, because we simply do not enforce our laws. And we allow people to say, I think Blazer mentioned it too, man must live. Of course, but as I said, I agree we need to find proper alternatives.
Brayton listed some issues that need to be addressed to truly clean up Kingston. She further calls for the acquisition of a multidisciplinary approach to deal with the problem, since no one person has the solution and that everyone is expected to play their part.
There's a problem of parking. There's a problem of traffic, which is congestion. There's a problem of open drains, that Blazer mentioned too. Uneven sidewalks. I mean, I've fallen. Perhaps, and I'm not the only one. Too much concrete, an extremely unattractive waterfront. Everybody wants to make their waterfront sort of to be a welcome and to look good, but ours is like a backyard. There's Little Tokyo. And I'm not saying that Little Tokyo is the problem. I think the maintenance and management of Little Tokyo was the problem. Unattractive bus terminals, Heritage Square, uncontrolled and unregulated vendors, we mentioned that before, poor sanitation generally, although that has improved. But
Lawyer, columnist, and author Cecil Blazer Williams says that when speaking about cleaning up Kingston, the market is one of the areas that comes to mind, which requires attention. According to Williams, in recent years, there has been an expansion of the informal sector, which has seen a significant increase in vendors, yet nothing has been put in place that is sustainable to ensure that the unclean practices are not continued. Williams, however, says in reference to past cleanups that when people become accustomed to operating in a particular way, it becomes difficult to change that mindset. He adds that a lot of shifts have taken place since the 1960s, but there has not been the kind of administrative development to go along with it.
Nothing has been put in place. So if you move people today, if you knock down some old box stuff down the road, we go up next 3 weeks because there's no monitoring. There's nobody to say, look, why are you putting this back up? Don't do it. Nothing. And of course, we know that there is a heavy political dimension to this. Is that if you say you're going to clean up and you start to move people, there's a strong political dimension. It is that one person is going to say, look man, people have to make a living, you're against poor people and that sort of thing. And so that is a cycle, we have that kind of situation.
Meanwhile, Senior Health Officer in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Carlos Wilson, says that for Kingston to be thoroughly cleaned, focus should not only be on removing persons, and therefore advises Vincentians to look at the bigger picture, which is the health issues created or supported by vending. One of such issues, he says, is the spread of diseases caused by the manifestation of rodents who thrive on discarded garbage of vendors.
Front, the construction linked to the harborage of rodents, the way they're constructed reduce accessibility by our sanitation staff when there is need to clean. So hence the reason in Tokyo, I can speak for Tokyo in particular as it pertains to this, is that you cannot access the drains because we had a collaboration between ourselves and Town Board. You cannot access the slabs to clear the drains, and you'll have mosquito breeding, you'll have rodents. Because anywhere there is human activity, indiscriminate dumping, right? Because that happens. It's the fried chicken, it's the soft drink, it's the biscuits, and they're under drains for the rats. And then after the vending will left, the food is there, and the coverage of the plywood structure, the pallet board, tables and other things that are constructed with them, leave the harborage area for them. So they perform their duties unprovoked. They're good to go.
Wilson also calls for more policing and monitoring to ensure that there is adherence to the law, which decreases the health risks involved.
We have to this is where the policy and legislation comes in. The policing of those legislation by the relevant authorities, guidelines. So when somebody goes to, let's say, Town Board and say, I want a spot to do X, Y, or Z, it must be said, if you want to do this is the application process, these are the agencies that have to be on board. When you reach that stage, probably need to go to physical planning, and from there, we decide how you're going. Yes. And then it will lend now to design, layout, siting. All right? Instead of everybody popping up here, there, and everywhere. I realize that it's a socio-economic issue because it is survival.
In court news, Joanza Charles, a resident of Lago Heights, has been committed to stand trial before a judge and jury at the next practical sitting of the criminal session. The decision came this morning by Chief Magistrate Rayshon Brown at the conclusion of a preliminary inquiry to determine whether a case was made out on a charge attempted of attempted murder for him to answer to at the High Court. Charles's charge stemmed from a fracas that developed into an altercation between Charles and Jeffrey Edwards. Edwards sustained a single scissor stab wound to his back at the morning of January 4th, 2015. He was a patient at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital for 7 days.